What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a loose graded vintage Star Wars market update. Lots of interesting eBay sales prices. I think now's a good time to talk about the market. And in my opinion, the market is going down, especially for very common items, even in high grade. And we're going to show some examples of that in this video. And my personal opinion is if you're out there looking for loose graded figures right now, be patient. Wait for auctions, especially if they're common stuff that you're looking for. If they're uncommon and they're rare and you got deep pockets, you're going to have to pay up for it. That's just the way it is. But I did see a number of buy it now situations in this video for these items where I feel like they were overpays. There were a few buy it now situations where I thought the prices were very fair. So you just got to be careful and really take your time with it. But if you're looking for common characters, common COOs, countries of origin, just be patient because more than likely in the next month or two or three, you're probably going to find it at auction. And even the uncommon stuff is coming up at auction right now. So in my opinion, buy it now situations are to be avoided where possible. And I got some examples of all that right here. The first one I've got is a Smooth Cape Hong Kong AFA 85 Plus Jawa. So this is the Smooth Cape. It's not the Hong Kong. This is the no COO. And it's labeled the Hong Kong in the title of the auction, but you can see the two dashes there after it says loose action figure. That means it's the Smooth Cape no COO, which is like the Palatoy. So the Palatoy Jawas were known to have smooth capes and there were no COOs. This one had the older style case, and this one sold for $350 on one bid. Now, in my opinion, this is an overpay. All right, it's not by much, but it is an 85 plus, so I get that. I would not pay that right now. I would not pay that. I think in an auction where the starting price is $1, I bet it doesn't go for $350. I bet it goes in somewhere in the high 270s. That's just my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong, and I usually am. But, it was an archival case, and of course it was the 85 plus. And as we've talked about in past videos, once you get to 85 plus, and especially 90s, which we're going to show you in a little while, the prices jump up dramatically. And so, it just depends on what your grade level is in terms of what you need for your collection or want for your collection. We don't need any of this stuff. This is all plastic doll collecting. We don't need any of it. But if you want 85 pluses and 90s, yes, you're going to have to pay up for it. But in my opinion, I think that this was just a slight overpay. Next up, we've got a UKG 85% Ben Kenobi. This one had white hair and it was a lettered saber hilt Hong Kong. Nice figure. Nice figure. This is an early Ben Kenobi since it's got the lettered saber hilt. And it was a high grade from UKG. Now, there are some collectors that only collect AFA, and that's fine. But this one had the new case style, and this one had 85, 80, 85 for the subscores. So, by no means perfect, but it was a really, really nice figure. And that one was a buy it now situation of 195 pounds, which is $246. That's pretty close to market value. I found a number of data points for a number of different COOs for Ben Kenobi that were UKG 85%. They were all kind of around that same price. So I think this is a case where it was a buy it now situation where the seller listed it at market and it sold fairly quickly. And that's a beautiful figure, that white hair Hong Kong Ben Kenobi. But here's another one. So this is another one. This is the no COO dark gray hair, and this one's graded AFA 85. Now you're going to be paying up for that, for an 85 versus a UKG 85. It also had the new case style, and it's a little harder to find the no COOs graded by AFA since most of those go to UKG. Now, this one sold for $295. To me, I would pay that. This is probably maybe a little high. In a auction, this might go for like $260, $270. I don't know. But to me, if you're looking for a specific COO AFA graded, especially for ones where they're usually sent over to UKG instead of AFA, you might pay a slight premium, and this is a case where I probably would pay that premium. So $295 plus $10 shipping, I'd pay that. I think that's a pretty fair price. Here was an 85 plus small head molded legs Han Solo. So this is the more common of the small head Hans with the molded legs instead of the painted legs. And it was also very, very high grade, 85 plus. And, small head Hans, AFA 85s, they've come back down in price. They've come back down to earth, so to speak. 85s, you can probably get them in the mid 250s, 270s, somewhere in that range for an 85. 85 plus archival case, you're going to pay up for it. And this is a case where they did that. They paid about double what an AFA 85 would go for. This one sold for 400 pounds, which is 504 US dollars. Maybe not double, but 1.8 times. And I think that's probably okay. Again, if you're looking for specific grades, 85 pluses don't pop up that much from AFA. And, if you're willing to pay, a couple of extra bucks just to lock it in, then do it. But, this is not a gross overpay. There are some in here that are. Here was an AFA 80 Sand People Hong Kong. This one sold in an auction. And, admittedly, it's not the highest grade. It's an AFA 80. But it sold for $118.50 in an auction, 7 bids, 10.20 shipping. So $128, that's a great price. That's a great price. If you don't have to have an AFA 85 for everything, and you can live with AFA 80s, that's still a near mint score. And to get it for $128, that's not a bad price with the brand new case style. I think I'd pay that too. Now here's an example of an auction where I can't make any sense of the price. All right, this is a Hong Kong blonde-haired farm boy, light pants, very common. Okay, this is not an uncommon COO or hair color or anything. It was only an AFA 80 only. I mean, it's still nice, don't get me wrong, but $510 is a lot. I mean, I would pay somewhere closer to $300 personally. So I don't know why this one went so high, especially in an auction. I could see, this one's selling in a buy it now for $500. Someone was just impatient. They wanted to lock one in. It had the brand new case style and it was awfully pretty, but we've documented a number of examples of AFA 80s or UKG 85% farm boys where there were Hong Kong's blonde hair that have sold for well less than this, $200 less. So to me, this one is an overpay. And this one is also an overpay in my opinion, although it's really nice. This one I don't have. And this is an AFA 80 brown-haired Hong Kong archival case Luke farm boy, brand new case style. So it's got a lot going for it because the brown-haired Hong Kong is a little tougher to find. I still need this one in my collection. But this one sold in a buy it now for $700. Now, there was an auction. I didn't look up the exact price, but there was an auction for this exact same item where the starting bid was $1 and it sold for around $350 or $400. So that's a significant jump. That's a significant jump to pay $700. And to me, this is a gross overpay. If you're patient in an auction, another one of these is going to come up, folks. And I wouldn't pay $700 for that. Now, if it's an AFA 85, even $700 is probably a little bit more than I'd pay. I might go to $600 for an AFA 85, but for an AFA 80 for the brown-haired Hong Kong Luke farm boy, it should be nowhere close to $700. I would argue that this is probably close to double market value. I think $350 is probably closer to market. Next up is an AFA 80 R2D2. $224 was the winning bid in an auction on this one. This is probably about right? Because an AFA 85, it's over $400 usually in an auction. So for a brand new case style, solid dome R2D2 for an AFA 80, that's a step down in grade, and you're getting it for a significant price discount at $224 plus $10.20 shipping. So I think that's a fair price. Next up was a UKG 85% PBP light green head Walrus Man. Very common figure, not hard to find at all. And this one was an auction where it sold for 75 pounds. That's a buy it all day long at that price. That's a really great price. That's $94 and change in US dollars. But if I'm in the UK and I'm into foreign variants, to get a Spanish light green head Walrus Man, UKG 85%, brand new case style for under 80 pounds, that's a great buy. That's a really great buy in my mind. And I think it's worth every penny of that, personally. Next up, we've got a Taiwan Fett graded UKG 85%. And it just shows you the difference because I'm going to show you in a second a UKG 90% that sold at auction. So here was a UKG 85% Taiwan Fett. It was listed for 285 US dollars. Over here in the US, it sold for 250 US dollars. So that's a pretty good price in my mind because I think an AFA 85 or even an AFA 80 would probably sell for that. So 250 is a good deal. Now here's a UKG 90% Taiwan Fett. So it's a step up in grade, gold level from UKG. And that one sold in an auction for 509 pounds, which is 643 US dollars. And it's the same figure. It's just going from an 85 to a 90. You're paying 250 here. Here you're paying almost 650. So that, to me, yes, it's nice to have a 90%. Yes, it's an amazing score. for a Boba Fett, and it's hard to get, whether it's a UKG 90 or an AFA 90. It's just really tough to get that high of a score. But I'm not paying $643 for a Taiwan Fett personally. Maybe in an AFA 85, but even then, it's a stretch for me. Although 85s would probably go even higher than 643. But that just shows you the power of grade and the significant price premiums that people are willing to pay. Here's another one that I would definitely pay this price. This was an AFA 85 plus no COO Bossk. And if you guys know Bossk at all, the no COOs in general tend to degrade really easily. It's something about the type of plastic they use. And to get an 85 plus in a no COO is very tough to do. This is the first time I've seen this high of a grade of a no COO Bossk. This would appear on Tri-Logos or Palatoid card backs. To get an AFA 85 plus is very tough to do. And this one sold for $305 in an auction. I would pay that all day long. All day long. That is a steal of a deal, in my opinion, because standard Hong Kongs could go for more than this in an 85 plus. Last year, an AFA 90 sold for $660. So to get an 85 plus with a harder to find no COO for less than half that price, that was a bargain. I did not see this one go up for auction. I just found it after the fact in closed listings. Otherwise, I would have been really tempted to bid on this because this is still a COO that I need for my mini Bossk run. But wow, that's a great buy. Next up was a UKG 85% brown snake Yoda, Hong Kong. And this one had the new case style. This one sold for 175 pounds, which is 220 US dollars. Yodas have come way down in price unless they're very, rare COOs like Lily Letties or PBPs. And this is an example of that. Last year, this was going for almost double that price. So I think 175 is a great buy in an auction on that, and I'd pay that all day long. Next up was a CAS graded Leia Hoth, and it was 85 plus. 85 plus. Now, we all know that AFA figures do tend to command a premium. And if you don't want to pay the 85 grade for an AFA, look to CAS, look to UKG, and fill out your collection that way. I bought a UKG 85 no COO Leia Hoth that's very tough to find for $175. This one was a CAS 85 plus that sold in an auction for $222. Good buy. That's a really good buy. And, I know it's CAS and they tend to grade a little faster and looser than AFA. But let me tell you, I promise you that they grade Leia Hoths and blue snags very, very difficult. I mean, they grade those very strictly. And I would argue that if this is an 85 plus, it probably is an 85 plus. It's really, really tough to get that from any of the grading companies for a Leia Hoth. And to get that for $222, bargain. That's a bargain price. Now, here's an example of one where I would not pay this price. This was an uncirculated 90 Leia Hoth brown hair. And, I know it's a U90, so we all know how crazy that is. And it's a U90 that was packed in with a Stormtrooper blaster instead of her correct blaster. So there is some appeal there. This thing would be worth way more if they had just kept it on the card. I don't know how beat up the card was, but even on a beater card, it would be worth way more than taking it off and getting an uncirculated grade with, an error blaster on the label, in my opinion. And it's an older style case, so the figure rattles around inside. And this one was listed for $900. The best offer that was accepted was $750. Is it worth $750 to have a U90 with an error blaster when it's not mint on card anymore? I would argue the answer is no. That's my personal opinion on it. But, especially with the older style case where that figure can rattle around and start to scratch and all that kind of good stuff. But personal opinion, this was an overpay. Next up, we've got here's another example of an overpay, in my opinion. This was a CAS 70 plus red-haired Leia Hoth. So red-haired Leia Hoths do command a premium, but it's only a 70 plus grade. And you can find these all day long for less than $400. Which was the sales price for this one. I don't know how this thing sold for $400. That's a terrible overpay. It's probably not even worth $150 in my opinion. So, personal opinion that was a drastic overpay, and I don't know if they just misread the label or what. But this would be a $400 price would be the price on an 85 plus, a CAS 85 plus. But for a 70 plus to pay $400, again, that's a buy it now situation where the buyer, I guess, was impatient to fill out their collection. And, again, no, if you're watching this and I'm calling your buy an overpay, don't take it personally. I'm just giving my personal opinion, and by no means is my personal opinion always correct. I'm just giving you what I would do in this situation. But $400 is not a price I'd pay for that, for a 70 plus grade. Next up, I've got two different examples of the Cloud Car Pilot, and they're both graded by CAS, and one of them is an 85 and one of them is an 85 plus. And this is an example where the market was correct on it, right? So here's the CAS 85 grade Cloud Car Pilot. This one was a buy it now situation for $245. The best offer that was accepted was $200. Good price, in my opinion. That's a very fair price. Now here's the 85 plus grade. So you can see there 85 plus. So just a half step up in grade, same grading company. And this one sold in an auction for $227. So to go from a CAS 85 for $200 to a CAS 85 plus for $227, that makes sense, right? So the market has spoken here, and these two buyers got, in my opinion, really fair deals. Because we just documented last year an AFA 85 plus that sold for $800 or $900, and I'm not willing to pay that spread. That's a ridiculous spread to go from an 85 plus AFA for $800 or $900 or whatever that crazy sales price was in an auction, by the way, versus a CAS 85 plus that you can buy for, let's call it, a quarter of the price. This is a better deal, in my opinion. And again, I know that some people don't collect AFA. I collect all three grading companies, so I'm okay with it. But to me, that's a huge price premium to pay to go from a CAS 85 plus to an AFA 85 plus. Here was a UKG 90% Rancor Keeper. Very common figure, but a nice high grade. This one sold in an auction for 94 pounds. So again, this is an example of, if it's a common figure, wait for an auction. This one's very, very high grade, brand new case style, and to get that one for sub 100 pounds, I think that's a very fair price. Next up was a UKG 85% Last 17 Anakin Skywalker. Again, an auction, and it sold for 69 pounds. Bargain. That's a bargain of a deal. That's 87 US dollars for a high grade UKG Last 17 Anakin. And it's a common figure, obviously, right? This was available in mailaways. They produced millions of these. So don't overpay on some of these common figures. Wait for an auction. Now, here's another example of where I think it was an overpay. This was an AFA 85 loose graded Last 17 Han Solo and Carbonite. We have hit data point after data point for these. They were all for $350 to $375. There were probably a half a dozen or a dozen of those that have sold. This one sold for $500. $500, one bid. And in my opinion, that buyer paid too much, because if you had just waited for a cheaper auction, this one all day long would be $350 to $370. So, that's a pretty significant, let's call it a 20 to 25% overpay easily. And I think that you just got to be patient for some of that stuff. Next up and last is an AFA 90. AFA 90 yak face. Now, I know it's an older case style, and the figure's going to rattle around, but we just documented CIB, who is affiliated with AFA. They had an AFA 90 that sold for, I think it was over $1,200. This one sold in an auction in the UK for 645 pounds, which is $813. That's a good buy. If you can live with the older case style, AFA 90, once AFA opens back up for loose grading again, send it back in and get a brand new case style, and the grade will stay exactly the same. And you just added a lot of value to that figure. So there's lots of good values out there if you just keep an eye out and you're patient. Wait for auctions. Avoid the buy it nows unless it's super rare and it's something you absolutely have to have. I hope you enjoyed this look at vintage loose graded figures and some of the tips as you're buying in a down market. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.